DeVeaux with us today from the biology department, and she has all sorts of things that she can share with us with regard to how biology and medical science and bioinformation services are all a really big part of our department's focus here at New Mexico Tech. So, Linda, I'm going to first just ask that you might introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, yes, I'm Linda DeVeaux. I'm the chair of biology. I was director of the biomedical sciences program. That's now Dr. Karen Gantz, but I know a lot about that program as well as the biology program. So I will just be talking about biology.
Okay, however, so you're not going the other way.
Right, no. However, I will say that the biology and the biomedical science program have, for the first year, the coursework is identical. So students go back and forth and before they decide, and it's really easy to go back and forth. And most of the biomedical science students are biology focused. So they hang in our department anyway.
Yeah, I imagine so, but they can flip back and forth pretty easily if they need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I advise both biomedical science and biology. But Karen is doing the incoming biomedical science students advising this year.
Just as a question on the biomedical science or that stuff, do you oftentimes connect up with like robotics or those types of things, or is it something other than that?
Yes. Okay. So
it's something other than that.
So biomedical sciences has two choices that students make. They choose a science option, which is biology, chemistry, or cognitive neuroscience, and then they choose an engineering option. And the robotics is one of the engineering concentrations that they can choose. So biomechanical engineering, there's biochemical engineering, there's bioinformatics, and biomaterials. Okay. So there are actually 12 ways to do that degree, depending on which science and which engineering you choose. So it's a little less straightforward than the biology degree.
Yeah, but it sounds interesting for anybody coming here. They have a lot of options.
Yeah, it is becoming a very popular degree. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. I see Cassandra's there and she's smiling. So Cassandra, you got a question? No, now come on, don't do this to me.
No, I really don't have any questions. I mean, I work with Dr. DeVeaux, so and I am a biologist, so I don't have much.
Yeah. Well, Cassandra's been a peer mentor for some time. She went through the grueling process of the 7 in the morning class on Wednesdays last fall. So she's definitely got that. But Cassandra and other folks, part of the reason we're doing these, information times, and is because we have a lot of students coming into our program with peer mentors. Cassandra's part of that. We've got 6 peer mentors that are taking on all of those new students, paids and people with primarily the email that's an NMT email. And so all of these questions come to mind for people. And Cassandra, I'm imagining you're one of the main biology people in our group anyway, because we try to isolate by major usually. But can you tell Linda how that's going, just so she has an idea why we're making her have to talk to us this afternoon?
Well, I think Linda pretty much knows. I talk to her, basically on a daily basis because she is my PI, and I talk to her about the other work I've been doing. But yeah, I think Linda knows is okay. My answer on this.
So yeah. She's been into this system. Okay, so I know you came 3 years ago, Linda, and you did the biomedical, and now I know that with the change of chairs, you're just biology, as if that's just a just anyway. But What should people expect if they come into our biology program? I know it's varied, and like you say, they can kind of stay in the same pond for the first year. But if they're going into biology, are there specific pathways that they might want to consider?
Well, funny you asked that. I have a little presentation prepared
Excellent.
that can answer a lot of these questions. Do you want me
Oh,
to just go
good.
ahead
Why don't you do that?
with
Can you
that?
screen share?
Okay, yeah. Is my screen not sharing?
I just see welcome to NMT
Yes,
biology, the
that's my,
best department, and then the isopods. So, okay,
yes,
you're ready to rock. You go ahead and do it.
that's my first slide. So,
Okay.
and actually the isopod, it's animated.
I
Okay.
see.
So the biology department is located in Jones Annex. And hopefully everybody's going to be, or most people are going to be on campus in the fall, so you'll have a chance to come to Jones Annex. We're on the second and third floors. The second floor is our main teaching floor. It's where all the teaching labs are. It's where TA offices are, department office, my research lab, and Dr. Gantz, who I will talk about in a minute. And then going upstairs onto the third floor, it's a smaller floor, and that's where the rest of the faculty have their offices and research labs. I would want students to feel welcome to go up there, even though they wouldn't have any reason to go up there except to talk to the faculty. But that's where you go for their office hours, if we have in-person office hours again. But that's where you'd find people.
SNESNA is up on the third floor?
SNESNA, Dr. Keith, Dr. DeVeaux, and then our new faculty member that will be coming in January will be up there.
Well, I just know that SNESNA's got plants all through her office that seem to be the example of, when I go in there, I start laughing. I start thinking Little Shop of Horrors, but I know that those aren't carnivorous, but it's kind of funky to go in there because they're all over the place. So
that, and it's very warm in there. And then you go into my office, and mine looks like I haven't yet moved in because I got nothing really personal in there. I guess I just haven't personalized mine yet. But
isopods are just hard to talk to as well if you had them in there. So, but okay, who are you?
Yeah, so we are 5 faculty, sort of, 5 plus, and we're about 60 undergrads, and then an additional 40 that are in biomedical sciences that are included in our group because most of them, as I said, are biology focused. And then we have a master's program in biology, and currently we have 6 MS students plus an additional 4 accelerated MS students, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But Cassandra is one of those accelerated master's students.
Super, she's a good person. Don't worry, Cassandra. I'm one of your biggest fans. So there you go. So
okay, so this person is somebody that every biology student needs to get to know. This is Vanessa. Yes, she is our administrative assistant. I know she looks like she's about to eat small children, but, not really. She doesn't. So this is the first stop when you have a question.
Sure.
Vanessa's the one to ask. Her door is usually open. And treat her well because she deserves it.
You bet.
Okay, so I wanted to run through something because I had this question from some students, and it really is about what the titles mean. So we have in our department at least one assistant professor. Doesn't mean he's assisting anybody else. It's a rank. So that means it's his first faculty job, and he doesn't yet have tenure. And then he gets promoted and tenured, and he becomes an associate professor. So that's the next level. And then full professor, the next step. So that's what the different levels professor mean?
Sure.
And then you might even see professor emeritus, which means that professor is retired, but they're probably still active, which is why they have that title.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have an instructor, and the main difference there is that our instructor is not, doing research is not part of her job description. She does teaching, so that's why she's not on the professor track, the tenure track. And then we also have adjuncts and part-time faculty, and really what that means is they have another job. So they're just teaching for us part-time.
Okay.
And we have one very good part-time faculty member. So I'm going to introduce you now to the different faculty, I think.
Okay.
But I will say to all students, when in doubt, use the title doctor. Because if somebody's not, they'll probably tell you they're not, but they'll be flattered. So
It's always nice to be on the right side of that.
if in doubt, call them doctor. Okay, so meet the faculty. This is Dr. Tom Keith.
Yep.
He is a professor. He's former chair. He's a subsurface microbiologist, and you can tell that he's subsurface. He is actually down in a cave in South Africa in this picture.
Wow.
So he studies microbes that live a mile deep in the earth.
Yeah.
And the courses he mainly teaches, he does teach freshman biology, and not too surprisingly, he teaches microbiology and environmental microbiology, and he also teaches an upper level infection and immunity class. This is Dr. Snesna, and that's what everybody calls her. Her last name is Rogel, but everybody calls her Dr. Snesna. She is also a professor and also a former chair. And she's a biochemist, molecular biologist, cell biologist, you name it, entrepreneur, cancer biologist, just about anything. And her main courses, she teaches the Intro to Bio-BMS that a lot of you will be taking, the 1-credit course. She teaches cell biology. She teaches molecular biology, and then something called freestyle. I want to point out this here. We don't have a course number. We just moved molecular from a 300 to a 400. Hasn't been assigned.
Okay.
To my knowledge, it doesn't have a 400 number yet, so I just put question marks in.
And I'm imagining you're all going through that numbering system that has come to us in New Mexico to go from 3 to 4.
It only affects the 100 and 200 level courses at the moment.
Oh, good. All righty.
Yeah. And it doesn't affect the engineering courses. So that's going to be a real source of confusion. That some courses have different prefixes. So psychology is both PSY and PSYC, for example, just because it's going through a common 4-letter designation. We're staying bio, but some of our BMS is being converted to bio.
Okay.
That's another whole set of confusion. Okay, this is Dr. DeVeaux. Not to be confused with me, I'm Dr. DeVeaux, but people will get them mixed up when they hear the name being said. I'm not a redhead, he is, and so that's probably the best way to distinguish us. I don't have facial hair either. He doesn't always have facial hair.
I was going to say sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. He is an assistant professor, soon to be, I hope, this coming year promoted. So he'll go up the next level. He is an ecologist. So again, not too surprisingly, he teaches ecology and evolution, and he also teaches the second semester of our freshman biology course, which is mainly focused on ecology and evolution. And then he has some upper division courses that he rotates through. This is Dr. Gaunt. Okay, everybody does call her Karin. but you know, to be respectful until she tells you to call her Karen. You probably should call her Dr. Gans.
That's probably true.
She's an instructor. Her PhD is in biophysics. So she's got a slightly different background than the rest of us. She's our laboratory director, and she's also the director of the BMS program. And I already mentioned that. And she, because she's laboratory director, she's even though she's an instructor and doesn't do research, that takes up a lot of her time, as well as being the BMS director. So she has been teaching Bio 1 in the off semester, so in spring. But she's doing the Bio 301, which is also a biomedical sciences course. It's genetic engineering at the bench, and she's going to be doing the biomedical sciences seminar. And she teaches several of our Masters of Science teachers courses. So she spends a lot of time doing that. Okay, Dr. Wilkinson. He looks a little bit intimidating in this picture. He is not. He's an adjunct. He's our part-time faculty member because he has a day job, and he is a veterinarian. He's the owner of the Animal Haven Veterinary Clinic, and so he comes to teach for us out of love for teaching, and students love him. And so he teaches anatomy and physiology 1 and 2 and their associated labs. He teaches medical terminology, and this fall he's teaching psychobiology of sex, a very popular course. And then he teaches off and on other biology and psychology classes. Who's next? Oh, it's me.
There you are. Thug life.
Yeah,
Huh?
you already see me. I thought I would give you that one. I'm a micromolecular biologist, and I am currently the department chair. And I teach genetics, advanced genetics. I'm teaching a senior level course-based undergraduate research class. I was going to be teaching a Bio 111 lab this year, but we canceled that because Dr. Gans and I couldn't get the training we needed because of the pandemic. So the C phages that I mentioned to some of my opening email, that got canceled, and it'll be pushed off to next year. However, any of you who are still interested in taking that, we will make a section of that for this year's incoming students to take next year, and it will replace some biology electives that you otherwise would have to take to fulfill the degree requirements.
Sure.
So it's not a repeat of 111 and 112 lab. It's a totally different thing. It's an undergraduate course-based research 2-semester sequence where you isolate bacterial viruses from the environment, you characterize them, you sequence their DNA, and then they get sent off to a bank where they're stored. And it's a really big program funded by the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. And we're part of the 13th cohort that's joined this program. So it's been going for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is Joel Sharborough. Oh, I should have put Dr. Joel Sharborough. That was my mistake.
Yes.
He's our new hire. He starting in January, and he looks at how cells get energy, and how he does a lot of plant genetics, and he does bioinformatics. He's into evolution, and we haven't decided what courses he's going to be teaching. But
He'll decide.
I may be offloading genetics onto him and picking up something else. And so, who else do we have? We have teaching assistants, PAs. They are master's students. They might be PhD students. We don't have a PhD in biology, but there is an interdisciplinary biotechnology PhD program that we participate in. And so some of our teaching assistants are in that program. And so what do they do? They are going to be teaching the freshman labs.
Mm-hmm.
They may be teaching a 300 level lab, or they're going to be assisting in the lab, assisting in preparation, and they do a lot of the grading. So I ask that everybody treats them with respect. They have classes that they have to go to. They have research that they have to carry out. Their assignment as a teaching assistant is half-time. It's 20 hours a week. The other 20 hours a week is their education and their research. So you need to be respectful of their time. They will hold office hours, and they're there to help, but remember that they are, they're also students too.
Sure.
So they have other stuff to do. Okay. So how do you get a biology degree?
Yeah.
You go to the catalog and read the catalog. So something that I'm not sure that most students are aware of when they come to college.
That they enter with a catalog, you mean?
Yes, thank you. There is a catalog that is the year that you enter, and
Yep.
it is your contract with the university.
Mm-hmm.
You fulfill the requirements in that catalog, you get the degree. It changes every year. So it matters which catalog you look at, because curriculum changes, requirements change. So you are by default on the catalog of the year you come in.
Okay.
If things change, but while you're in school and you like a newer catalog better, you can change to that catalog, but you do have to go fill in a form so that everybody knows that's the one you're following.
Okay.
Otherwise, things that are in your year, that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to present biology 2021,
Okay.
even though I took it from 1920, but I know what the changes are. And there were some. There's always tweaking. Okay, but before we get to that,
Okay.
these are the Gen Ed requirements, and this is page 80 from this year's catalog. So everybody has to fulfill general education requirements, and this is how you fulfill them at New Mexico Tech. And I'm just going to go quickly through them. English. Everybody takes English 111, 112, and then technical communication. Okay, you just do. There's no choice there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, except for me. Everybody has to take Calc 1 and Calc 2. And again, these are the old course numbers because we haven't, this is this current year's, last year's catalog. So
There's no
everybody has
Calc 3 requirement for biology?
There's no, I'm sorry, what?
No Calc 3 requirement for biology.
This is institute requirements,
Yes.
the minimum. I'll get to what, there is no
Okay.
Calc 3 requirement in biology. There is in biomedical science.
Depends on what
So-
you're, sure. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So this is the minimum. All right, then there's the lab sciences, area 3, which is physics 1 and 2 and chem 1 and 2. Again, everybody's got to take them.
Yep.
Then we get to the places where you actually have choices. So I lumped area 4, area 5, and area 7 together here.
Okay.
Area 4 is social sciences. Anything with those prefixes, which of course are going to change because they're now going to be 4 letters, but anything with those prefixes, you take 2 classes. In area 5, it's humanities. Again, 2 classes. And then area 7 is just another class from area 4 or area 5. So you take 5 classes in those with those prefixes. And then the last one is the creative and fine arts requirement,
Mm-hmm.
which is area 6, and you take 1 class. Now, what I want to point out is that this art is also up here. Dance is not. Music is also up here in humanities. Theater is also up here in humanities. So there's crossover between them. You just got to make sure that you get enough of these classes to fulfill, because otherwise, remember the contract, we won't give you the degree. You don't fulfill the requirements.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, that's how you do it. So then you've got your degree-specific requirements. So here's where we get to the guts of biology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you got your gen ed that we just went over. It's 53 credits, by the way, if you total up all those area requirements. Then we've got the core requirements in biology, the courses that every biology major must take. Then we have groups of electives. So there's group 1, group 2, and group 3. And you've just got to take so many credits from this group of courses, that group of courses, and then the last one is anything. Okay, so there is a chemistry requirement, and I'll get to that, which is, now all of this is over and above those gen eds that I just went over.
Right, these are more. Yep.
So then you have another either math or computer science course, and that, for those of you who are keeping track at home, that totals to 109 credits.
Okay.
To get an NMT degree, you need 120 credits. So yes,
So those extra 11 can be in anything, or how does
they
that
can be. It can be anything. So we suggest people take things that maybe are outside what you think you might be interested in. Just, you know, maybe try I don't know, an engineering course. Take
Sure.
one of the basic engineering courses and take it as you. That way, if you don't do well, it doesn't affect your GPA. And in fact, if you don't do well, really well, if you don't pass, still doesn't affect your GPA, but then you don't get the credit.
Mm-hmm.
The other place this comes is if you are not ready for Calc 1 when you come in, those math courses you take to get up to Calc 1 count in those extra credits.
They do count in those. Oh.
Yeah, they count. A lot of people come in with dual credit from high school that maybe isn't part of what's required here, so it comes in as a general elective. That counts. You get the credit for it. They count. So most people don't have trouble getting to the 120 credits. Usually, in fact, they're well over by the time they're done. But it does give you some flexibility. So if you come in ready to take calc and with anything dual credit, you can take things that are outside of your area more easily and get a broader education.
Sure.
And I would strongly recommend that. And I would strongly recommend taking a physical recreation course or a fine arts course.
I see Cassandra nodding over there. Yep.
Yeah, go take weightlifting from Jeremy or, you know, something. It'll do your mind some good. Okay, so the biology core. This is the biology core. These are the new course numbers. We've got year 1, you take Bio 1 and Bio 2. Okay, that's what they're called. Year 2, we suggest cell biology and genetics as a two-semester sequence. Year 3, you're going to want to take microbiology and plus others, but this is from the core, the 20 credits of core. And then in your last semester, it's a 1-credit senior seminar class. Okay, so everybody will be in this, and this would be the ideal progression that you would do. Then here's the group 1 elective. Okay, so here's that molecular biology. It doesn't have a number. You can take 6 credits from any of these courses. These with labs are 4 credits. These that don't have labs are 3 credits. So if you're keeping track of numbers, if you were to take anatomy and physiology 1 and 2 with the labs, and if a course has a lab, you must take it for the biology degree, that's 8 credits, but you only need 6. So those extra 2 credits can count towards the free biology elective 12 credits. So it's spillover. Does that make sense?
Yes. At least it makes sense to me. Yeah.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Makes sense to me anyway, but I think if somebody's watching this, they can review it and say, oh, okay, this is what I've got to do. So.
And then here's the group 2, and it's a similar case. Some of these have labs. So if you take the courses that have labs, the lab credit counts towards your free biology electives. Because you only need 6 credits, and those with labs are 4. So you can get extra credits there. So you can probably tell this is very environmental and ecology. That's what this group is.
Sure.
And the other was more medical molecular. And then there's the free biology elective, so 12 credits, anything with a bio prefix. Okay, so as long as it wasn't used to fulfill a group 1 or group 2, you know, you can't double dip. Anything else you take, like the bio 1131 that I'm recommending everybody take, that 1 credit falls into this group.
Okay.
There's also, if you take biochemistry 1 and or 2, which are chem, they can also be used to fulfill this as long as you aren't using them to fulfill the chemistry requirement.
Okay, yeah,
So
you got to balance that one, don't you? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it may be a little confusing, but really you don't need to worry about that at all. So what is the chemistry requirement? Everybody has to take Chem 1 and Chem 2 cross campus. So what do we require on top of that? We require 1 semester of organic chemistry plus 6 more credits.
Okay.
And most people from this list, most people will take OChem 2 and then biochem because they make the most sense for a biology major. But some others are doing a chemistry minor or double majoring, and so they might be taking quant or PChem. But this is the normal group, and that's why I've kind of bolded them. So there's 6 credits, additional credits, without the lab. You can also take the labs if you want, but that's more than is necessary for our degree.
Okay.
But some might find that useful. And then you have to take either Introduction to Computer Programming using Python or Introduction to Applied Statistics. And for a lot of people, it just really comes down to scheduling. The other thing it comes down to is Math 283 is 3 credits and CSE 107 is 4. So choose the path of least resistance. I don't know. I think most people take Math 283, but certainly not everyone.
Okay.
So how do you know when you're supposed to take what, when?
Uh-huh.
I can't stress this enough.
Oh, you better meet with your advisor. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what yes, your advisor will send you an email saying it's time to meet, it's advising week, time to meet, and maybe you're right on track with the plan and all you need to say is, yep, I'm right on track, here's what I'm going to take, and they say, okay, here's your APIN. Or you come in and you say, well, I failed 3 classes, so I know it sets me back. We're going to have to change my plan. You know, it might be a longer meeting. But no matter what, you got to meet with your advisor because they know, they're more in the know about when classes might be offered and what order to take them in and how to navigate the little snafus that come up. So please meet with your advisor. On top of that, your advisor then is the one that gets to know you, so that when it's time for writing letters of recommendation, for example,
Sure.
you can ask your advisor and they will have and say, yeah, I've known this person for 2.5 years and they're doing great. And, you know, I got to know them. I know that they do this outside of school and that, and they'd be a great person to hire or whatever. Okay, so I did say at the beginning I was going to talk about a few options. We try to accommodate as many students as possible who want to do research in a faculty member's lab.
Mm-hmm.
But we are only 5+ faculty members. So that's why we have the undergraduate course-based research courses. So the C phages was supposed to be for freshmen. Karen Gonce's Bio 301 is sophomore, junior, and then I teach this. I have been teaching the senior level one. So it gives you an opportunity to do research independently, but guided with a group.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not canned labs. They are like, we don't know the answer. We're going to give you a project, and you're going to take it as far as you can. So
Mm-hmm.
Cassandra, in fact, was in my Cure class last fall, and she and Ashley isolated some phages from sewage that are now, they've been sequenced by our collaborators at Sandia National Lab in California, and they're novel phages. So I think we're probably going to get a paper out about these phages. So yeah, it's kind of cool. So that's
She's
an
smiling.
option.
She's smiling.
Yeah. There are a lot of summer internships, and Cassandra has done 2. She went to Georgia, she went to Tennessee, and I would say that they were quite enriching experiences for her. And there are a lot of internships out there. There are some in New Mexico that are carried out by the INBRI program, and then there are some just, NSF has REU programs across the country.
Ooh.
And I would highly encourage every student who's at all interested in doing research to apply. The best time is probably after your sophomore year, but Cassandra got one after her freshman year.
Pretty cool, yeah.
Sophomore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't hurt to apply. It doesn't cost to apply. It's just your time. And, you know, you might even get your choice of places to go. They pay about, I don't know, $5,000, Cassandra? Is that, plus they usually put you up and they have some travel money. So not only do you get the experience, but you get paid. So, you know, what could be better?
You bet. And that really good life, not only life experience, but your discipline. You really are starting to make yourself known by those internships.
And you get to find out whether or not the field is what you're interested in.
Sure.
Or what aspect. What I didn't say about the first bullet, the undergraduate research in a faculty member's lab, there are really 3 ways you can do this. You can volunteer. Okay, and I will tell you that a lot of faculty members might ask you to volunteer first before deciding whether or not they're going to take you on in a paid position. My experience with volunteering is that volunteer work is the first thing to drop off when exams start coming. So I don't like people to volunteer because I can't depend on it. So I'd rather you committed, you know, you can have, there's a, you know, honeymoon period, but then I'd really like you to commit, and I would try to find a way to pay you. That's the ideal thing, is that I'd have research money and be able to pay you hourly. You can also do it as an independent research, so you can get credit. That's the other way. So then you're dependent on the PI to give you a grade. So there's the hook, right? You've got to do a good job, or
Sure.
you fail. You fail.
Mhm.
But then at least you have a commitment. There's a commitment to doing the research because it's time. It takes time to train somebody and get them ready to do the research. And it's, you don't want to waste your PI's time, and I don't want to waste the students' time either.
No. And you contribute to each other in the midst of all of that.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. Well, I'm hoping to actually get productive research out, like Cassandra, who has been working in my lab.
You're smiling. Okay.
Okay, so something that students should be thinking about if they are thinking that they like research, we do have the accelerated MS program.
I think that's a super program. We need to push that with a lot of students, not because it's, just another bit of time here, but because this really is a good strengthening of their backgrounds in biology.
I agree.
Yeah.
And given that you can complete the biology degree in fewer credits than is required, you might have you could use those extra credits to dual count in the master's program. So that's the benefit of the accelerated MS program is your senior year, you overlap the first year of the master's with your senior year, and you can use 6 credits count to your bachelor's and your master's. So you can double dip them. And then on top of that, if you have completed the requirements for the bachelor's, like say you only have 2 classes you're taking your spring semester and you've maxed out the number that you can dual count, you can transfer 12 credits that you take while you're an undergraduate. As long as they didn't count towards your bachelor's, you can transfer them to the master's program.
So they get isolated in such a way as to make it so it works. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they do. You can. It's all just bookkeeping. But what that means is, if technically, you could be done with 18 credits of the 30 credit master's program by the time you graduate with your bachelor's. So getting the master's in just 1 additional year is really doable. So that's an option. And we recommend this for students who, are ahead and are doing well, and that this won't be a burden on them. It's not for everybody. There are 2 ways you can do this program. You can do a thesis, so a regular thesis like a regular master's, or that we have just added an independent study option, which is more course-based, and then you just do a little project. So it's if you don't want to go the whole 9 yards with doing all of the research, you can do the independent study. That will be in this coming year's catalog. It's not in the catalog yet because we just approved it.
So this is the one you might want to, if you're in that circumstance, consider getting into another catalog. Other than that, it is an option for people.
Yeah, It is. And then, of course, we have our regular, and all that means is instead of overlapping them, you just do them. You finish your bachelor's, you enter the master's. And again, it takes about 2 years to get a master's in our department. Some people take longer. If you're doing a thesis and the research isn't going well, or you drag your heels on writing, people have an issue with writing. It's going to take you longer because you do have to produce that thesis. So there is also the option of doing the independent study in the regular master's. It's in either one.
Okay.
So those are that's my spiel. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that only took 45 minutes.
That was pretty good, though, wasn't it? So, any questions? Well, I think it was very good. So there you go. But hopefully, people will get excited about biology and biomedical science because it's a great program and it sets them up well for their career and their ability to be in the field. So, Cassandra, do you have some questions? Come on now, I'm pumping you. You're just smiling at me. This is just not. Okay, what's the question?
I can tell you where our graduates go. They go to medical labs. They go to research labs. They go to graduate school. They go to medical school.
Sure.
They go to veterinary school. I just got an email from one of our seniors who graduated, and she just got a job at Tricor at the hospital.
Oh,
So
my.
she wanted to stay in Socorro. She's staying in Socorro. Another is working at a pharmacy. So, there are jobs out there.
Sure. And it also gives them insight if that's the job they want, or if that's the field they want, or if it's going to supplement what they could go on to. So,
right.
Yeah. So in other words, faculty are pretty well attuned, not only to the job market that's possible, but different jobs that you hear of, I would imagine.
Yeah, we get emails all the time, and I try to pass those on or post them. When I was director of BMS, I would post them on the BMS website. But I think as chair, I've just been asking Vanessa to send them out to all the biology students and BMS students, because EPA is constantly advertising for people with biology degrees, for example. But the jobs are not here in New Mexico. You have to be willing, to move, go somewhere else, which hopefully most people are. There are of course jobs in New Mexico, but these national ones that come out, most of them are not located locally.
And sometimes you've got to be willing to do that to get to a place you want to be. So it's not going to hurt to do those things. It's the question of being able to maybe chart it out a little bit. Again, another good place to talk to your advisor. So how does the career fair dovetail into this? I know they have lots of people that come. Do we get folks that are specific to biology or biomedical science?
Not really, not recently, but it's kind of funny because I talked to the Freeport people when they were here, and they don't put down that they're looking for biologists, but when you talk to them, they actually are looking for biologists. So I think that a lot of them, they just put down the main types that they're looking for, which are engineers, but a lot of them do need biologists. So I would encourage everybody to go to the career fair, even if on that list of things that for biology, there might not be many things. I think it's a little misleading.
So you got to network it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what your advisor is also good for, is networking.
Yeah. Any other questions we got? Naomi, you got some questions? I know you're just lurking. So
I do actually have a question.
Good.
Okay.
So Dr. DeVeaux, what's been your favorite research project while you've been at Tech?
While I've been at Tech, honestly, I think it's the one, the phage project that I'm on with Sandia. I find that the most interesting and relevant, and what Sandia is doing is trying to develop a way to combat multi-drug resistant Pseudomonas aeruginosa infections in cystic fibrosis patients, because they get a lot of congestion in there, and then they get these bacteria growing in there.
Right.
And these organisms are just resistant to all the antibiotics that we can throw at them. So they're developing a cocktail of viruses that specifically attack Pseudomonas aeruginosa. And we got pulled into this because one of the faculty members who left our department was initially in this project, and when she left, they were going to take the project to somewhere else, and I said, well, I think we could probably do that. And so we've been working on it, and that's so the phages that Cassandra isolated are now being considered for use in this cocktail as well.
So that's a real good pathway for people to follow
Yeah.
you were able to keep it and move it. So
Yeah, I unfortunately the project's going to end in the end of September. It was just a 3-year funded project, but hopefully we'll be able to continue on with the ones that Cassandra isolated and maybe get some additional funding for that. But it involved bioinformatics, it involved microbiology, it's medical related. I mean, it's got a little bit of everything in it.
I probably shouldn't bring up a name, but I'm thinking about Kimberly McNair did a real big study, I think, that I've seen through the OSL, which is, with our student research symposium. And I'm not trying to get a real big plug there on that, but we try to train our students through their research and get them to be able to communicate well with general audiences. But Kimberly had something just with hydrology, I think it was in the Rio Grande, and then that was a poster. And then this year she was an 8-minute oral presentation on the same stuff. Does this apply to the same area, or is this something different?
It's a little bit different. She was looking for antibiotic resistant organisms in the surface water.
Sure.
So, I'm going to brag a little bit about Kimberly, like
Sure.
I've already bragged about Cassandra. She was also an accelerated master's student. She finished, she got it done in just that 5th year. I'm working on taking her stuff and turning it into a publication.
Wonderful.
So she defended her master's, and yeah, she should get a publication out of it. And now she's working for the Department of Health in Texas on tuberculosis.
Yeah, she was saying something about that was a possibility the last time I talked to her. So yeah.
Yep, she's there. She's there. She moved. She's gone. But yeah, that was a really nice study.
Well, I was really interested in how she presented it. Made great sense to me.
We're hoping that if you can detect it in the water before it ends up in patients, that we can use this as an early detection. I mean, and I know people are doing this for COVID-19, but this was the pre-COVID-19. So the work that we were doing was to try to tie what shows up in the clinic and kind of backtrace it to how it's carried through the state, through the surface water.
So you mentioned COVID-19. Maybe that's something people are interested in biology, and how that works. That would, I'm sure you study viruses and things like that. So I'm not sure you're studying COVID-19, but you do study virology, I'm imagining. So.
Well, it's funny you asked that question, because Cassandra is working on looking at sewage to try to detect the viral genome in sewage. We're just trying to find money to fund this project, but we're going ahead on a shoestring here, trying to make sure we can get it to work. And then hopefully we'll be able to use it as an early detection for the next wave, if it comes through this, by detecting it in sewage. So
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by it, of course. So it looks like that's a great program and a good place to have emphasis. So, all right. Anything else you wanna pump, Dr. DeVeaux?
I'm about talked out here, I think. All of the incoming biology students will have me as their first advisor.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you should have been contacted by me, and I send a spreadsheet, I send directions. I'm the person to ask if you've got any questions about what you should take in the fall.
Which is great, because if they're watching this, which we hope they do, this is something that it can be a good segue to you in understanding how excited you are about your program, but also the ways you can help them. So
yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
is to help. Of course, I do have other responsibilities.
Just a few, I'm sure. Yeah. Naomi, did you have another question?
Sorry, I was having issues with my microphone. I actually, I actually didn't have any more questions. Dr. DeVeaux, your presentation was so detailed. It was amazing.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it and tweak it every year and give it to the incoming students.
Sounds like a good plan. Have you been in orientation talking to them about biology when it comes to those 2 hours or whatever that people interact? Yeah.
I'm the one sitting in the room. Yeah, the first one, nobody came, and then I had 3 this last time. So I did have people. It turns out there are some, problems with the schedule, but the schedule's about to change. Anyway,
Yeah.
Things are going to change.
And I know we're trying to make it so it works for people, both on site and online. And that's part of what we do over here at the OSL is with the tutoring and with the peer mentors and things like that. We're trying to interact with folks. So it's really helpful to hear your perspective and where we need to help and be an ally in this whole process. So
Yeah.
I'm showing that you've got about another minute, so you've got to have something here. So,
well, just know that we are attempting to provide everybody with the ability, if they can't come on campus, that they can take their classes. If they can come on campus, great. But we're trying to be as flexible for everybody as possible. And so most of our classes are going to be hybrid, part face-to-face with an online component to it or an online section. And that's why I say the schedule is probably going to get worked out, because some of these you'll be able to do asynchronously. So even though the class is scheduled at this time and maybe another one is scheduled at that time, you should be able to take one of those, like watch the video later, and still be able to register for them. So that's what we're still working out. I mean, on the whole university. When we get there.
Yeah, and I think we're working to get there pretty hard. And for anybody who's watching this as an incoming student, I would just tell you that Beck is really very much interested in you and interested in your success as a student here. So for those outcomes to come about and to be positive. So, Cassandra, you got something else you want to add?
I am, a big biology person, so I'm going to tell all the engineers to come to biology or do BMS, but that's a little bias of me. But yeah, I mean, we do a good job. Linda does a really good job. I don't think I'd be at Tech if I didn't have someone like Linda or most of the faculty in the biology department. So it's kind of seeing where you fit in, where your niche is at. So.
And finding it is part of that goal here. So, did I see a strange car on your screen share before you took it away, Linda?
I don't know. Maybe.